Do like crossing cultures talk now. So you guys are in a new culture, a Latino culture, which might not feel so different because it's a tourist town, and it's you're surrounded by a community of people that speak the same language and might have a more or less similar culture as you. But we're just going to talk about what does it look like to engage the culture that you're in when it's not your own, and when it I mean, you can engage cultures that aren't your own within your own city, right? Especially now, people can fly anywhere in the world, and your neighbors could be from Somalia and Mexico and Cuba, like in the same block in your neighborhood, right? So it looks different than it used to. But it's like, what is it? Just because they live next to you doesn't mean you understand the culture or that you're open to learning about them. So we're just going to talk a little bit of differences and what does it mean to engage a culture, and how can we engage a culture and learn about with humility, and how can we go into a culture with our eyes open and listening and not telling somebody. Like you can ask questions, I think is a huge thing when you go into a culture. Ask questions. What are some questions that you might ask when you're trying to understand a culture that's different from your own?
Ask the question, but like in every culture, different stuff is offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like touching a kid's head is offensive. Using your right hand or your left hand is offensive. What is it, like saying come or pointing
this way or this way means two different things.
Yeah, like so figuring out how to be respectful. So I mean, I don't know what the questions are, but like figuring that stuff out is so important.
Yeah. So asking maybe a local that is from a similar culture to you, somebody that's lived there for 15 years, that has picked up those nuances, right? Or those really offensive, not so nuanced, like things that are important in that culture. So talking to people that have lived there and getting it's going to be different. If you're living somewhere, you move somewhere, you might get a language helper, and those people can help you understand the culture, and ask them, like, are there certain things that are offensive, or what have you seen gringos do that is not okay to do?
Yeah.
And there's some words that mean something in Colombia that means something completely different here, that means something different in Mexico. Like one of it's like it means cake, and the other means something really offensive to somebody, right? And it's like those things will come up, but you just ask questions and learn. And I think like she said, it's not always like questions, but I think it's just having an open a humility to learn the culture. And like you see something you don't understand, there's two different ways you can ask questions about that, right? Like say there's somebody is out sweeping their driveway with a palm frond. Like you can go up and say, what in the world are you doing? Or, well, like that really works well. There's two approaches that you can see. Maybe they can't afford a broom. And actually I tried it once, and a palm frond actually works better than you would think it does, especially when it's the only thing sitting there. But then it's like, then you see other things like, okay, why are they using a machete to cut an entire field of grass? And you're like, instead of judging right away, think, well, the guy got a job and he's pretty excited, and he doesn't have money to buy a weed eater and gasoline and replacement cord and all of that. And so it's kind of like not casting judgment on things that you see and don't understand. So I think asking questions to help you understand and not always compare them to your own culture and your experiences. And a lot of times it's our base, and we're comparing it to what we know and what we've experienced, but at the same time, realizing that they have a different experience and they come from a different place, and that the way they're doing it's okay. you know, and there's going to be a lot of different things in different cultures. One of the main ways to kind of see the major differences is making them in a hot and cold culture. I don't know if any of you guys have looked at cultures that way before, but the U.S. and New Zealand and I think Australia, and Europe, and yeah, a lot of Europe. Those are the cold cultures, and a lot of Latin America and Africa and the Arabic nations are the warm cultures. And there's differences in those cultures, and you're stereotyping, you know, but it's just kind of getting a general idea, and different personality types might tend towards different things, even though they're in one culture. But it's just kind of looking at the culture as a whole, you know, and even say like in Argentina, it's in Latin America, but they have a huge European influence. In some cities, there's 80% Europeans, and so that's going to have a different feel too. So there's always going to be exceptions, I guess. But a lot of times the hot climates are going to be really relational, and the cold climates are going to be more task oriented, and the relational ones are more collective. They're more the family, and the cold climates tend to be more in the individualistic tendencies, you know, and so it helps to understand a culture, especially when a hot culture might be more indirect. You know, they're going to give you directions somewhere, and they have no idea where to get there, but they want to try to help, and they want to it's not just try to help, but they do want to help, but they can't.
The example is in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's the example.
If you ask for directions, you have to ask at least 3 people in order to get the right direction.
And you come up with a combined
whatever's
direction.
repeated is true. Because culturally, for them to say, I don't know, is rude.
Well,
And they want to help.
So culturally for us, if you don't know and you tell me something, you're lying to me, and that's rude, right? But for them, they just want to be helpful and tell you to the best of their knowledge, even if they have no clue, right? So you have to ask more than one person. Or like, for example, culturally in Costa Rica, if you don't ask personal questions for the beginning of a conversation, even in the business world, like I have to spend 15 minutes, sometimes longer, asking about their family and figuring out where they're from and about their culture and about their whatever, and grandma, I have to get grandma's name, and then I can talk business. And if I don't do that, I'm not trustworthy. But in a cold culture, which is US, I'm wasting your time, and I'm being rude to you if I do that. Yeah.
well,
So in Costa Rica, culturally, if I don't say hi to every single person in the room and
Kiss.
bye to every single person in the room, I'm being rude. In the US, you slip out, no big deal, right?
Yeah, and it's not like they're, you know, you're used to being direct and to the point, and like not telling exact directions, you're lying and you're being rude, but they don't see it that way. And so if you're going to be offended by somebody that gave you inaccurate directions and they didn't actually even know, it's like you're being offended by, or you're getting mad about something that isn't part of their culture. And it's like you can look at examples of business people who work cross-culturally, and it's like that. If like even a worker comes in, if I don't say, good morning, how are you doing? How did you wake up? I don't even know the word. And
I just sleep.
How did you sleep? Like, good, great. And then like tell him what he's supposed to do. He gets rude, and he's like, he'll just stand there and like, excuse me, you're not going to ask me how I'm doing. And I'm like, all right, how are you doing? You know, and it's like, I mean, even when you're texting, you have to like, hola, buenos dias, ¿cómo está? Can you come clean today? You know, like basic things like that. And it's like, you just do it because you know that that's part of the culture and that you want to connect with people. And so it's just being aware of that and sensitive to it. And I think the best way to do that is to come into a new culture with humility, to ask questions. People like to explain their culture, you know? I mean, and you ask questions with humility, they're like, oh, can you explain this parade of crazy puppets that look like they're gonna eat you? And then they're scared. And then it's like, oh, this is part of our history, this is our culture, and they get so excited to share it with you. And then they want to tell you stories, and then you're going to have this understanding of their history and their culture and another level, and that opens up doorways too, right? And so just being a learner, a listener, going into it with your eyes wide open, and realize your culture is not superior. It's your experience, but it doesn't mean that it's better, and that your way of doing things isn't necessarily better. It's just different. And maybe your way is more efficient or whatever, but maybe that's not the main thing, the most important thing that matters. And so I think just realizing the differences and kind of embracing them. And I remember when I first moved here, like, I am not a relational person. I didn't come from that climate, and I'm just not that general, right? And it was like, people are showing up late. I got to drink coffee, and I don't like coffee, and you have to sit there for an hour, and you go over to somebody's house and you think you're going to be there half an hour, and you're there for 5 hours, and you're just like, okay. And it's like, okay, this is how it is here. And if I don't like it, then don't be here. You know, like, you have to make a decision. And it's like, might not be your natural tendencies, but you're going to do it because we want to build relationships with them, and we want to show Christ love. And the best way to do that is just going into a culture with an openness and a willingness to learn about them. And yeah, anything else? Do you guys have any questions about Jaco, Costa Rica culture that you guys might have noticed in your few days that you were here, or just general questions that you might have? You guys can ask too, if you.
No, I just need to apologize to the workers, but the form.
No, I mean, okay, here there's a lot of tourists, and they're kind of used to working with gringos.
But there's still something deep in their heart.
But there's something in them.
Rejected.
So they get it, but so it's okay. But at the same time, like, if you just say hi and ¿Cómo estás? Pura vida, you're good. You know.
And even at the grocery store, like,
Yeah.
the person that's checking you out, if you don't look them in their eyes and say hi and ask how they're doing, they think you're rude.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
They're wondering if you're okay, something's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah,
Are they
so-
forgiving? Like, do they automatically hate you for the rest of your life?
No.
No, Costa Rica is
They're
very
so-
peaceful, but it doesn't mean that they're not hurt.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're like.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's the same as when you try, even though your Spanish might be horrible, when you try, they love that you're trying.
Yeah, they
Like,
think
They might smile, but they're like, oh, you're so cute, you're trying. But then there's like an endearment there too, you know? So try as much Spanish. When you're ordering food, say frijoles if you can, and arroz. And even if you can't roll your R, just say it anyway. I can't roll my R either, but you just try it, and they appreciate it. And that's them showing you that you're trying to be part of their culture and be part of their world, right? And that shows a lot.
Yeah, asking questions is an art form.
Yeah.
You know, even I've learned that because I'm also, especially growing up in the business world in the US, or like being very business focused, it's like, okay, if you're not 15 minutes early or late, you know, and if you waste, their time is valuable, so you're wasting their time. I mean, there's so much of what I've learned that I had to completely throw out And now I've learned, okay, asking questions. You go into, and you're gonna spend a lot of time like in the businesses here. So this is really an important foundation for you guys to have as we send you out into the community. Because you walk in and you have to think of questions to ask. Oh, so are you from here? Like, are you from Jaco? Because most of the Costa Ricans even that are here are not from Jaco. So then you can ask them, where are you from? Why did you come? Like asking questions and finding out their story is so important. It like earns the right to be heard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely true in the business world, but it's true as you're just getting to know people, you know? It shows that you care and you want to engage and that you're not just there for a transaction and that's it.
Yeah, where in the US,
It's fine.
you can't walk into a business and have like a personal
Yeah,
conversation.
they'll think you're creepy
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
they're gonna get in trouble with their boss and, you know, but that's not true here. Here, it's like you have a total open door and they expect that from you.
Yeah.
So if you go in and, you know, you're, for the project we're doing, you're collecting information about their business. But if you just go in and be like, okay, we're collecting information about the business, they're gonna be like,
I mean,
Were
that's
you?
weird anyway, but also you can get it
Yeah.
through different ways. Yeah, I think you're right. There is an art to it. Like I did a project on Jacobeños, which are people from Jaco, and I had to ask them questions, and we'll talk more about this like a worldview later. But it was like asking questions to know where they're coming from, and you're like, I mean, like I said, we'll talk about it later, but you're asking not straight up like, do you believe in God? Do you believe there's a creator? Do you believe you're going to hell? Do you believe? But you're asking and you get them to answer in a way that you ask them a question and they answer it, and then they're starting to give you the information because they're telling their story, you know, and it's not a forced thing, and it's just a more natural way to learn about them and even asking the right questions about their culture. So yeah, so language things, just being willing to not care what people think and try whatever Spanish you know, and that's, I remember I came to a spot where it was like I tried to get it right, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna talk, and I know it's not right now, but I don't care. And all of a sudden my Spanish got better because I was actually using it, you know.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, just try. They appreciate you trying, and I think just learning more. I mean, even if it's like, okay, there's a holiday today. Let's figure out, what is this holiday that? Why are you guys off today? Can you tell me about it? And people love to talk about. Costa Ricans are proud of Costa Rica, like most countries. People are proud of them, but Costa Ricans like, you know, their history and everything. They wear the hats and the bandanas and all of that, you know. There's so many parades. There used to be so many parades before COVID, you know, and but just engage the culture and do it with humility, ask questions, observe. Observing is a big thing too. So, yeah.
You had mentioned like not addressing someone or getting to know them prior to a professional or otherwise conversation to be someone that was disrespectful. What are other things that you've seen gringos and gringos do that were like, oh, that was massively disrespectful and they just had no idea?
the comment, oh, in America we do, because we're actually still in America.
Yeah.
On top of, if you said even in the States, or we would do it,
Yeah, even that comment,
Chico way.
is
with the
very,
chi-
it's very hard for
Chico.
them to swallow. Like, oh, we do it this way, like, that's rude, but then the America thing is like a big thing.
Yeah,
for
they
them.
think they consider themselves part of America because it's Central America.
Yeah, but even South America is America as much as North America is.
Yeah, but South Americans don't care.
Yeah, yeah, we're the United States
Central,
of
we're the,
America.
I'm like, I'm
So
just,
it's weird,
it's
but
short
you have
for
to say
United States.
in the US, but
yeah,
it's better actually if you don't refer to.
don't say,
Don't
don't make
compare.
it a we and you, we do it this way, you do it this way.
Yeah.
And they love things from the States and brands and all that. So it's like they have more of, I would say Costa Ricans have more of a fondness for the States than maybe a lot of countries.
But they want to be included. So
But,
when you make
yeah.
a we, it's like, but, and not you.
Yeah.
Does
No,
that make sense?
yeah.
They want to be included.
They like the culture, they like your culture, whereas in like some other countries in the world, they might, there's like this something against Americans, right? That's not what it is here, but like she said, they don't want to be like us and you know, or you and us or whatever. So it's like, don't say this is how we would do it. That's a good way, or that's the Tico way. We say that a lot.
Yeah, it's easy to make the comparison or see the comparison.
Yeah,
You really don't want to like all the time.
right.
Unless you're doing it the positive way, like sweeping.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna go do that on a regular basis, don't get me wrong, but it's like being like okay with them doing it the way they're doing it, you know? Even if you're paying them to do that and you're it's different, but
Yeah, and we live in a very individualistic culture, like, I mean, the US is very individualistic, and so like, it's natural to not smile at somebody when you walk past them, or to not say hi, or to not get eye contact. But here, if you walk past somebody, they're probably gonna try to look you in the eye if they're from Costa Rica. If they're from here, they're probably gonna wanna smile, they're probably gonna wanna say hi. So that's a really fun way to engage, actually. And then the more you go into the inner parts of Costa Rica, like I can't even drive through the inner parts of Costa Rica without everybody expecting a wave.
yeah.
Or like honking. Honking is allowed here.
Yeah,
Honking's not like, get out of my
It's
way.
everything,
like,
actually.
what's up?
Hey, get out of my way, I'm coming through. Hi.
but not like Brazil or something.
No. But it means a lot of things.
Yeah.
And the left turn signal sometimes means you can pass me, and sometimes it means I'm turning left. So that one is the worst of them all. I'm just saying, there's confusion sometimes.
Where I grew up, actually, in Nashville, you have to
Yeah.
wave at everyone. My dad gets so mad, like my whole family does. If someone doesn't wave when you drive past them, or someone on the road doesn't wave, you don't acknowledge someone and say hello. Like it's just weird. Like, my dad's like, oh, this definitely annoying, man.
Yeah,
Like get out of here, like leave, like you're ruining our culture.
yeah, so the South is the warmest of all of the US.
And then the north is the cold. And so, and it's like a gradient going down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
you
I
can kinda see that
understand,
there,
it's like
yeah.
going to, have you ever been to New York?
I had this crazy.
Right, don't you feel totally out of place? Like
Yeah.
you feel like everybody's so rude, right? Because they're so business, they're so worried about getting their thing done. Well, that's how they feel about us, you know, like, because we're so focused on like the task and getting stuff done and not wasting any time or whatever.
Like, why are you taking another coffee break? You just arrived to work and now you're doing a coffee break? Like,
Yeah. that-
but then when, I still don't understand it, but it's like, you know, they're gonna do it, so they're gonna
You
do it.
offer them coffee,
So you may, yeah, because they're gonna probably
because then it takes less
always
time.
ask me for coffee. And so now I'm like, am I supposed to be bringing him coffee? I don't even know.
And you show, if you're invited anywhere, you show up at least 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
If you
Or
show
you're-
up on
or
time,
they're not
you're being rude, they didn't expect you and they're not
Yeah.
ready.
Where is this? Here.
Wow.
That's kind of how it is in the Philippines.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like, if it happens, it happens, if it doesn't.
Very good.
What?
Put up like the
And we
volleyball.
just set up, so y'all were on time.
Yeah,
But-
but they think gringos are gonna show up on time too.
Yeah, you have to be careful with some of
Because some of them are be like, we're here, and we're like, okay.
it. So usually if it's, you have to ask, Gringo time or like Chico time?
We got yelled at by Tika the other day because we were like, we were late.
This is gold, this stuff. I'm glad we're recording.
Yeah.
So with being friendly and acknowledging people, when you're walking down Jaco, like you're walking anywhere, people are trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
Now, is it just rude to just ignore them or be like, no,
No, you can
gracias?
say no,
No, you don't
gracias,
even have to say no. You just say gracias.
and then you just keep going.
And then, if they're trying to sell you something, you can smile and they're gonna try, they will actually, you just say gracias. And buen día, which means have a good day. Thanks, no, you know, like, I mean, saying thanks means like no. Yeah, and like even here, you don't say, can I have in the restaurant, you say, will you gift it to me? So if you
Regálame,
Regálame.
or maybe.
So if you say that in another country, they're gonna be like, no, I'm not gifting you that, you have to pay for it. But here, it's so around the circle, like, give it to me, will you sell that to me as a gift? Like, you know, out of the kindness of your heart, may I,
Would you please present that to me?
it's so flowery, so.
But that's what they use. Like, yeah, I went to another country and I said it and she's like, no. And I'm like,
Get a job.
I have money. I showed her the money and she's like, and then I learned that lesson that way.
That's true.
So yeah, there's a lot of little things.
But, and if they're trying to sell you something, like, or trying to play music for you in a restaurant, just don't,
Don't
that's
make
when
eye
you don't make
contact.
eye contact.
Or they'll start playing and then you have to pay
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Because if you make eye contact, what you're saying is yes.
What kind of music do they
Like
use?
the-
Oh,
or the mariachi.
No,
So if you want it.
Yeah, and they'll do any song you want for as long as you keep paying them. They'll keep going. Happy birthday is their favorite.
When one of you had mentioned I was rude to do this, in some places, is this one of those places? Can you?
They
can
go
you
like
not
Don't
back in?
point, you don't point that.
Don't point
And they always go like this,
if we're coming here.
like down, yeah.
Okay, okay. Will they be confused or offended by
Yeah,
doing this?
just-
No,
You're-
I mean,
You're a gringo, so you're, you know,
it's a tourist town.
yeah. It's a tourist town, so you can get away with more, but
Yeah.
just so you know that
So
they
that's
do it this way.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't point. They don't like that at all.
Not at all.
Very
At people or
offensive.
just at anything?
Pointing at people.
Anything.
Like, even
but-
if
If you're gonna
Hey,
point,
go
you have
over
to
there.
point with your lips, which sounds like a joke, but
But they
it's
do
so
it.
serious.
Julio
Yeah.
did
They're
that.
like,
Julio, there's a guy in Nicaragua, every three years ago.
Yeah.
And we thought it was
it's
so
so,
funny, but
it's
it
so
doesn't
strange,
make
but
sense.
it's really true. If you're gonna point, if you have to point, you point with your lips.
Yeah,
So-
this.
Like they ask which way.
And then it's
It's
like
like
you
not
want to
just,
kiss.
it's like, oh, I need to go talk to you.
Or
It's
you
like-
point with your whole hand, like,
Oh,
oh,
your
you know,
whole hand.
like that way. You know, so
Okay,
you're
yeah.
not, but you're not pointing.
Pointing at food.
I think that might be okay. Pointing at a
Because it-
menu is okay.
Because they know you just don't know what you're saying, so they're
Or
like,
pointing
just-
like at the soda, that's okay.
yeah,
That's okay.
I think it's fine. But generally, because even if you're pointing to the tree, it looks like you're pointing to somebody, at somebody. I think they just don't like that. Yeah, they like the,
Full hand.
Like,
general direction.
when they're allowing you to cross the street in front of them, they're like,
I mean, it's nicer, it's not just you there.
yeah.
Did you discuss this already? Is the okay sign not acceptable here?
They
It's
don't
just
do
thumbs up.
okay, there's thumbs up.
Thumbs up is okay.
Yeah, this is like all the things you don't think about.
Yeah.
I saw a guy biking down the street, and every guy that passed him on the other side of the street, he's like, oh, wow. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, he knows
He knows
everybody.
everything.
No, he probably,
Yes.
he might though. but-
I mean, it's a small town, so maybe he does, but you can also be that person. You should be that person.
Yeah,
Engage the
When I
person.
walked up Muros, it's like kind of exhausting because I'm kind of just like, oh, let's just go out in nature, but I have to say hi to every single person. I end up saying hi to 20 people and then I'm like, then you kind of get to know them. You're like, oh, hi, like, hi, we're friends.
It's like if you frequent a place here, like y'all are saying you went to Brit a lot, you were over at Room to Board, like get to know the baristas. Like I know the lady at the fruit stand, and every time I go in, I see her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, hi!" I'm like, "Oh, hey, Lou, she gives me watermelon for free." I'm like, "Oh my god!" But it's just like, because they're so used to people who look like us coming in and just in, out, ignoring them. So getting to know them and their names, like, it's gonna take it a long way and be easier to start opening up to talk about the gospel.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun because it's a relational culture, right? So they're gonna be more open to just talking and building that relationships, and the relationships do still take time. It takes time to earn trust. I mean, there's like superficial relational level, and then there's like a deeper level of it still. It's not like they're all superficial relationships, you know, and it takes time. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stories about it taking time before they like fully trust you, because they're like, are you just gonna leave? You know, and like, no, actually I've been here for 6 years now. Does that count? They're like, oh, you're not just leaving, you know? So, I mean, there's still that component of earning their trust and all that.
Yeah, and because like, for example, the direction thing, how it's rude to say no. So if you confront them with, do you want to accept the Lord as your savior, like that, like it's so aggressive, they're gonna say yes, regardless of whether the answer is yes.
And get
You
baptized
know?
several times.
And get baptized several times. So you just have to be really aware with how, like if the point is communicating, I love you and God loves you and he wants to be in a relationship with you, then you have to make sure that that's actually what you're communicating, not, you're not being a bulldozer. And it's really easy, especially in this culture, because they think saying no is rude. It's really easy to bulldoze them.
And it's also like they're used, you know, some of the kids are used to getting stuff from teams that come in. And so it's important. And just another side note, like giving things away to people isn't helpful always. Like
Nobody does that.
You
Like,
don't
the
do
locals
that.
don't give stuff away.
Yeah.
So if you do, then you're just,
You're not helping anything. They're expecting every gringo they see to give them stuff. And so, and it's just like, you know, maybe it wouldn't mean anything to you, but it can, you know, over time create dependency and this unhealthy relationship. They're gonna go to church with you just to see what they can get from you, or, you know, I mean, everything has happened, but it's just something to be aware of, that they know, you know.
yeah, if they're asking for something like food or something, then probably their hearts are closed to hearing whatever you say. You know, like they're already thinking of you as a source or a means to an end. You know, so you just have to be really aware of that. You know, like if they say, oh, I'm so hungry, whatever, then send them to the church, because the church has a food program. The church has a crisis pregnancy center. The church has, like, they have all of the resources and they know all of the people.
Yeah.
You know, they know.
And they
So
have
know
people
their
to
story.
minister to them.
Yeah, and to build trust over time. So you can say, no, but I was, you know, like, no, but, no, bueno, like, I'm sorry, I can't, but, and then just try to engage them in conversation. And probably what will happen, because they're in the mode of, I need to go get something
Mm-hmm.
usually, like, I need to get something, they're gonna leave the conversation, you know, like, so it's just, if you're already in their mind in like the gringo purse mode, you know, like, then you have to just like be sweet with them and say hi, and then maybe next time they get used to your no. Now all of a sudden the door's open to have a real conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What about when they ask for money?
No way, Jose. Like, if you ask any Costa Rican for money, like, that is like, so, like, they will give you the shirt off their back. They will bring you into their home and they will
Give you
feed
food.
you. They will let you stay in their home, but you don't ever, 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 ever ask for anything. So, like, they know that it's rude. So for them, it's so like awful
But gringos,
but
Give it
gringos like giving stuff away. And so it's created a really, like, honestly, it's created a hard part even for like the relationship building. So don't ever, 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 ever give them anything.
I mean, it's the same thing. If they say they need bus to go see their dying mother, I mean, I've had that one.
Hey, Gatorade, can you give me a Gatorade? Like, all I need is a Gatorade. Like, I mean,
You're like,
well, what
you're
they do
low
is
on
they-
electrolytes? Oh,
they pour
here's
out
some
half the
salt.
Gatorade and they put in the rubbing alcohol.
Yeah,
You know, so that it,
tastes better.
I mean, it's
So you
just
send them to the
culturally-
church. Because if
they
they
don't
really
do that,
need something,
so.
the church will filter it. They know how to deal with it and they can help them if they really think it's a legit need, as far as I can tell, obviously. But it's like, but then they also will build a relationship. There's several people there that, you know, that they can
There's
connect with.
discipleship.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We don't just want to do handouts, right? So pointing people to the church is a great way to handle those needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do most people know Horizon? Like they're familiar, it's not like, oh, where is that? And I
We
think
could
since
call it
it's a
the
small
Gringo
city,
Church probably, and then they will know.
they-
Or La Iglesia. Yeah, there's Radical, there's a Spanish speaking church too.
oh,
So there's several churches.
Yeah, but it's a small town, so they know the churches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we build into those programs both as missions teams and also as a ministry and as individuals. Like we don't give food away, we donate to the food pantry. Like we don't give clothes away, we donate to the crisis pregnancy center and the resources that the church has. You know, because of this issue, it's we don't ever, even as a ministry, we don't ever give anything away. We do it underneath the church. Yeah, so just because culturally, the way things are in the country, that's just how you can be careful with the culture that you're not doing anything against what we're fitting into their culture. That's how they would do it, so that's how we do it.
Yeah. that's really
And
good.
we want them to be
One thing.
connected to the church, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,